Hi, good afternoon and welcome to all of you. I just want to open this with a one-liner that we are all getting more and more familiar with blockchain, and I guess since morning you heard quite a bit about cybersecurity, and it is imminent that cybersecurity has a significant role to play in blockchain, particularly that now India started off with opening up the crypto assets or digital assets as an instrument of investments in India. And late December 2023, we've also got real world assets tokenization approved by SEBI, and quite a few players have jumped into it. What are the implications? What are the ways to do it? Still to be figured out, but cybersecurity has a significant role to play, and that is where I hope we'll have a meaningful conversation here, and you'll also be able to appreciate it. Now, you all heard who's who here. I just want to get each one's opening statement on the topic, and then we'll get into the conversation. So, start with Loretta.
Afternoon, everyone. My name's Loretta Joseph. I'm Australian, as you probably can tell. If I speak too fast, just put your hand up and I'll slow down. So I've been in blockchain for 14 years. I got in very early, 2010. Before that, I was a banker. I saw the efficiencies of blockchain technology long before I looked at things like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. And I've been writing policies around virtual assets and digital assets and the cybersecurity risks of these assets ever since. I'm just at the moment, and I have to dash off straight after this, I've just written the model law for the Commonwealth, which hopefully India will adopt on virtual assets for in common law.
So, hi everyone, good afternoon. So, I come from the hybrid background of finance and engineering, so more towards the product side and the technology side. I get into the blockchain side like 5-6 years ago, and I'm still pursuing it. Like, I have dedicated my life for the blockchain and the decentralization point of view. I want to do this part on a major base. So, on the perspective of the topic, blockchain and cybersecurity, I like to put it in a way that there are two components in this. Like blockchain brings security is one part, and the other part is blockchain as an infrastructure needs security. So it's a chicken and egg kind of a scenario. We all have been evolved with the story of chicken and egg, but this is what the scenario is. As an infrastructure, security is very important, and at the same time, blockchain to be considered as a general purpose technology needs furthermore secure and safer play around this scenario.
Yeah, hi. So thank you organizers for inviting me here. I come from banking background, worked with the multiple banks, now out of bank, working on my own startups and companies. India Blockchain Forum I started a couple of years back with the vision that will help rather India becomes one of those thought leadership in blockchain. I think cybersecurity is very important area considering a lot of things are happening. New innovations are coming. Banking is coming out of the bank. Rather, every business domain is coming out of their own territory, becoming as a marketplace. And as customers will operate or demand these services on marketplace, they need whether it is really coming from right source, how it is really the data is moving. So I think while we have created so many regulations, controls since several years together, and what we have seen, internet has helped to bring many more innovations to us, the way we operate, the way we talk, the way we transact, the way we communicate. It's all about internet, but the way we have created controls, and the blockchain comes there and says that whatever controls you have created, whatever infra we have created, whatever we keep talking about DPDP, GDPR, there are a lot of opportunities how these rules, regulations, controls can be eased out with the help of rather only blockchain with the combination with the AI, Gen AI, in combination of other technologies. So look forward for how this discussion can be really helpful to bring a lot of knowledge to all of us. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abhishek, and what we are building is we are building a blockchain cybersecurity company. What I mean by this is the government focus has shifted. Of course, the cybersecurity is a prime thing that government is keeping in mind. But what we realized over a period of time that government is adopting blockchain infrastructure at various levels, be it banking, be it voting, or be it a real estate tokenization, or whatever. And hence, the need for blockchain cybersecurity comes into picture. Now, we need to understand at what level that comes into picture. Is it at app level or DApp level, or is it at infrastructure level? To answer this, it is required at every level. At DApp level, you need a smart contract to be audited. At infrastructure level, you need a product which can do a real-time simulation and threat modeling. At post scam level, you need a forensic product which will find the destination wallet which has been ultimate beneficiary out of the scam. So this space is quite exciting, and this is space you will see very less talent building into a cybersecurity, and that too in a blockchain cybersecurity. So with the government focus on this, we believe this is going to be a very exciting space, and with more and more adoption, we are keenly building into this space. With this, I would like to give a last thought that I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but the world has collectively lost about $16 billion by end of 2023 because of a blockchain or a hack or a smart contract hack which has happened. So with this thought, I would like to leave you with a imagination world that what we are going to lose and why do we have to build into this space, and looking forward to this discussion. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. So, like Abhishek just mentioned, last year alone there was more than $3.6 billion of theft, if you will, has happened in the crypto asset space. And it's increasing every year. Prior to that, in 2022, it was $3.3 billion. So what he gave you is a collective number since. And what's important here is that in India today, India has been cautious in the approach to any compliance in crypto space. Many people in the business are not very happy about it, but I think we've not had very big losses to the people per se, and that is the primary goal of any government, is to protect the citizens' interest. And in that context, I just want to bring back, because we have a very interesting panel. I don't know how much you noticed in the introductions. We have 2 ex-bankers and 2 entrepreneurs here. And one ex-banker has been contributing to policy making on these aspects to different governments. So this is perhaps the best panel we could have got to talk about this. So with that, I just, well, thank you. So with that, I just want to start again asking, now, what do you think is the role of the government in terms of bringing down the compliance across your experience? Maybe we'll start with Loretta again. From the context point of view, it makes sense. So don't, we are gender neutral in every approach, but it just makes contextual. Second point I want to ask you is that your experience has been global, so from that perspective, and you also have a view to India. So what do you see is happening, and what do you think needs to happen?
So there's a few questions there. So in a nutshell, I mean, I was a banker before I got into blockchain, and I think you need to put these things in perspective in layman's language, because our policy writers and our governments really don't understand much about technology, and technologists are not very good at explaining to policymakers or governments about technology. So that's where someone like me comes in. Blockchain itself is an infrastructure, as we just talked about. It's a fancy word for a database. That's all it is. It's a database. Except it's different from the databases that you all use every day, which are centralised. They're controlled by somebody. The blockchain databases are controlled by nobody. They're controlled by everybody. So they're controlled by maths. Yeah, in the Bitcoin, the first application of blockchain was Bitcoin. And whether you like Bitcoin or you don't like Bitcoin, whatever your opinion on Bitcoin is, doesn't matter. But Bitcoin, when it came into existence in 2008, added one thing to the internet. And my mentor is the man that built the internet. He's a man called Bob Kahn. He wrote the Transmission Control Protocol and the Internet Protocol. He sent across an open system a word saying hello to another man called BitCert. That was the creation of the internet. So you wouldn't have your mobile phones or your computers if it wasn't for Bob. And it came out of DARPA, and he was told by the American Defence Force, where all these technologies, AI, encryption, everything comes out of US Defence. They got told to not put a security protocol layer on the internet. So as we all know, we move information across the internet, it's not safe. it gets hacked. Bitcoin comes along in 2008 and it did one thing. Forget about it for a moment being a cryptocurrency. It solved the problem of security of the internet. Now, how did it do that? It means because anybody in this room can join the Bitcoin blockchain. It's public. You can go and download a PDF file that shows you how to do it. Every computer in the world can join it. But we all have to have consensus to change that rules. Under central databases, the person who owns the databases can change the rules of the database. In the blockchain database, 80% of us in the Bitcoin blockchain, I'll be specific, have to agree to change the governance rules of that. So that's very powerful. Nobody can change. So it's an immutable, transparent and secure ledger for the first time in history. Now, whether people like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, that's superfluous. The blockchain is the underlying infrastructure. Other blockchains have come along, Ethereum, Swan, Solana, there's a number that have added new concepts into the blockchain like smart contracting, edit codes that, it's codes that can move contracts, but they're not really smart. They're not really smart contracts. They're just editing code. They're different again because they're based on different protocols, but again they're very secure. They're not as secure, I would say, and we'll probably have an argument about this later. I still think Bitcoin's the most secure database in the planet, and it can't be hacked because it's so decentralised. Governments look at blockchain differently as an infrastructure, but to be honest, the first application was Bitcoin, and to this date, the only application that works is cryptocurrency. But I think in the next 10 years, you will see many more applications come out of blockchain across every industry vertical, supply chains, every industry vertical will be disrupted by the fact that the blockchain has disintermediated markets. So no longer do we need intermediaries in systems. I trust maths, 2 + 2 = 4. I don't need a trusted intermediary like a bank to stand between me and a transaction. And I think banks have been very scared of that, and that's had a lot of effect on governments, and governments have thought that cryptocurrencies are currency. They're not. If anything, they're a commodity, but there is no cryptocurrency on the planet that looks anything like fiat currency. So it's never going to replace the rupee. So I think for me, it's a big education piece when I explain to policymakers what blockchain is and what applications like cryptocurrencies can sit on top of it. Governments are getting there. As I said, I've just written the model law for the Commonwealth on virtual assets, and the blockchain itself is the most secure database we've ever seen in history. They say that in 15 years, maybe quantum computers can break the encryption. I don't believe that. And I think the protocols are getting better and better, but they're very different, and they all do very different things. So from a policy perspective, I think governments will start to change and come up with things around, we mentioned GDPR. You've got a problem with GDPR because the blockchain is in complete opposition to the GDPR of Europe. The GDPR says that you have the right to be forgotten. Guess what? On a blockchain, all the information is immutable, transparent, and secure, and there forever. It can never be taken off. So GDPR is in complete conflict to what this is. So we now, as different governments around the world and regions, have to understand how this cybersecurity aspect and privacy interact with the new laws and regulations that we need to govern this new technology.
Well, thank you, Loretta. Maybe we'll jump to Prasanna. So what do you think from the India context? Where do we stand? We all know how minimalistic approach government of India has taken. So from your view, what do you think needs to come into place here?
I think it's quite progressive in a nutshell, the way we have seen China and Estonia, Dubai, these governments are really adopting blockchain well. In Dubai, we have a land registration on blockchain. In Estonia, are at least 200+ use cases. China is talking about 500+ use cases. I think when you come back to the Indian context, I think we come up with India's national strategy on blockchain. That's a good gesture, and I was a part of that national strategy, considering what all use cases we'll have at a national level. So today, when we talk about government, when you talk about India, I think most of these use cases are driven by digital public infrastructure. And good to say that finance, digital public infrastructure, maybe we are talking about digital rupee or e-rupee. It is on blockchain, on Hyperledger. The way UPI is there, fine. But next level of digital currency is going to be on blockchain. When you talk about other use cases on DPI, your digital Yatra, Digi Yatra, which we use, it's on blockchain. ONDC, Protean, all of them are experimenting around blockchain. So nevertheless, most of the DPIs are going to come on blockchain. What does it mean? It means that every citizen inherently is going to be on blockchain kind of a use cases. And inherently, the way we have seen bottlenecks and gaps in internet, those will not be there while we operate these ecosystems, say in health, ABHA, or maybe in finance, CBDC I spoke. I think that's how we look at how most of these digital public infra are coming on a blockchain context. On the finance side, UPI, we tried to bring it on blockchain, consider reconciliation settlement on a NPCI's perspective. Let's look at this at a state level. At West Bengal, I think health certificate or the birth certificate is already implemented on blockchain. Tamil Nadu, we have a blockchain policy is already implemented, considering what all use cases are going to come up. Good experiment they have done on a voting side, but sometimes technology is not issue. It's all about people coming together, bringing that use case and taking it to the larger audience is very, very important. So at least 10 plus state governments are working on blockchain. I had visited recently Orissa for almost all government certificate to bring it on blockchain. Imagine government has come up with a RFP with 50 plus use cases they are already identified. Rajasthan is coming up with a blockchain policy. They have created a way forward for a blockchain center of excellence to bring a lot of use cases for citizen. Land registration is one of those prominent use case which we have seen POC pilots in Telangana and Andhra. But Gujarat government is really taken up as a challenge, and sooner, maybe down the line 2-3 years, you will have at least 7-8 states will have some kind of a proof of concept real, which is in the hand of a citizen. I think that's a way ahead we are looking at least at a central government with the Prime Minister also understands the need of a blockchain and AI together. We have seen 2022 budgets, lot of inclination towards these kind of innovations, and 2023 budget also was towards awareness of emerging technologies, where they have involved, apart from 5G, these kind of technologies. I think government is quite sure while blockchain and there are other technologies, they will have to come up with a lot of use cases. Today, every SMS we receive from bank, it's on a blockchain, right? Because blockchain doesn't give something as a magical pill to you. It's all in the behind, in the back end, while you will operate your current business model, current finance, current healthcare on the front side, maybe on mobile app, maybe on tomorrow IoTs, right? Or maybe day after tomorrow, maybe metaverse. So we need to have that trust factor when we will be more open up. Today we are not more open up because we operate in centralized ecosystem. We operate like client server model. But it's now going slowly open up, maybe banking the way you used to do on branch or ATM. Now you do it some third-party fintech companies. So we all need all that kind of a trust factor in the back end. So ultimately, as an individual, as a citizen, you may not look at the immediate input or immediate incentives. You'll keep asking why CBDC is coming when UPI is there. But as a foundational tech, it will remove a lot of operations. It will ease out cyber security. It will bring on much more economy when we'll have a lot of automation around any of those business models. So I think government is really keen on implementing blockchain. I have given example of some 7-8 governments, but look at those Assams and Mizoram, they are also now talking on the blockchains. Maharashtra government, but in a nutshell, the initial question you had asked around policy and awareness, even if they say, yes, let us go for it, initial question they ask, what is this smart contract? What is this blockchain is all about? But today, some of these IAS officers, when I interact with them, they know everything around that. They know smart contract, they know cyber security, they know audit of a smart contract. So that question which was there in 2016-17, so we have moved far away. And while we had only 3-4 companies back in 16-17 on blockchain, today we have at least 250 plus companies. And he is also saying, right, where these companies do need kind of additional support to really validate whether they are really doing good. Whether they are, whatever smart contracts, they are really making it good. Ultimately, we may say blockchain is so secure, blockchain is so immutable, but we will configure, design all of these things. So it has to be go in the right direction. It will certainly ease out. But in a nutshell, I want to add one more thing. We have seen CC++ and we have seen Visual Basic or VC++, which is a rapid application on whatever we used to do, complete procedural language. Blockchain today has reached to an angle that blockchain as a service. Design, develop, deploy, everything can happen as a CI/CD, and those platforms are now available either through platforms like Hyperledger and so on. And look at the government angle. They also know it is available. If you open up those RFPs by some of the state and some of the abroad, they typically talk about this has to be there because they know it's not only 1 or 2 use case. They want to build 50, 60, 70 use cases on top of that with the ease and with the speed. Right. So today where we are sitting, people are aware. We, as a public, it is not, that information may not be there. You cannot go and say, yes, I have implemented something on a blockchain, right? So it is not giving direct incentive to the people. But indirect incentive will keep coming over a period of time because it's a foundational tech. It is not something like a Android app or iPhone which is coming in the market and we'll say, wow. It will eventually, it will ease out and will really take care of a lot many business model. Last business models around 17 sustainable goals, and some of the goals can be really met with the help of AI and blockchain together. That also government is aware. This is how we can do it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I don't know how many of you are aware that a whole lot of Indian companies, particularly in the Web3 space, have been moving out of India. In fact, last year, that's the data I remember. Forgive me, I don't have the current data. Last year, for the first 6 months of 2023, there were 4,200 Indian companies had registered only in UAE. Between the majority of them, I think nearly 2,700 going to Dubai, and rest of them around that region. So, as much as government is doing or trying to do things, we are also having entrepreneurs push to go outside of India, and maybe that is a question I just want to bring it to the entrepreneurs, that one side we do want some compliance, and perhaps that is what is pushing us. Though, to be fair, much of the movement of companies happening is because of access to capital. So I don't want to bring in the access to capital to the conversation. That's a different thing. But from the compliance point of view, what do you think as founders you think would help to stay and do business here?
That's a very interesting point that you have brought, that 4,000 plus company has moved on. But what we need to understand is why have they moved on? Are they playing the cards with government or against the government? If we understand this, we have an answer. The government is never against. I have never come across anybody from the government officials talking against blockchain as an infrastructure, blockchain as a technology. What they say is they are against the currency that is getting used in blockchain, which is called crypto. And that's typically because they do not know how to regulate it, or they do not have a framework to regulate it. So there is no question about the technology. Government itself is adopting, and I'm sure most of us will agree to this fact. There is no video, no white papers against blockchain. Now, when the companies which are going out of India, they are necessarily going because they are looking out for a financial assistance, where the frameworks in India are not very supportive, and that's where they have to go out and build from there and then come back to India and do the business. If that would have been there, it would have been easy. I'll just talk about 2 more incidented of regulations which are very important. Recently, IFCA has come up with a white paper which is about blockchain and tokenization. That is a significant achievement, talking about they are open to real estate tokenization, they are open to real asset tokenization, and they believe that fractional ownership is going to be here in a longer term for a betterment of our humanity, for a betterment of somebody who is willing to invest but they cannot afford a lot of money. That's where the fractional ownership comes into picture, and IFCA is there. So IFCA from Gift City is for blockchain. Our governor, Mr. Santana Das, he is for blockchain. Then who is against it? There is nobody. It's just that the crypto that we are using, if that framework comes into picture, this is going to be even better. One more point. I'm sure you might be aware that almost 2 years back, government came up with a policy that your crypto would be taxed at 30%. What does it mean? Anything that we pay tax is legal. It's legit. So they are framing, they are trying to do something in this space. And the moment it came, we were like, wow, this is like legitimating the fact that crypto is here to stay. However, it is more or less that is a debatable issue. So I believe government is playing its card. We have to play a card from the government, and being in cybersecurity, of course, because that's what they want. If they can keep a watch on what is happening, where the money is moving from peer to peer, is it an international transaction? If they can do a bit of the white paper or a work here, it's going to be a revolutionary product.
Well, thank you, Abhishek. So, Pranav.
So to add upon the fact, I mean, like Abhishek sir and Prasanna sir said that like blockchain as an infrastructure is not being avoided. Blockchain is a general purpose technology, which we all will agree within some time. We have agreed AI as a general purpose technology. Blockchain will also soon be in GPT announced across the world. So on the perspective of why companies are moving out, because Nanju sir also added the fact that like 4,000 plus companies. So let us come to the other traditional finance market. Like if you go see today, Indian markets are at number 5th or 6th. They have surpassed Hong Kong and they are about to go into the top 3 markets in this world. So we tend to capitalize on this momentum. So it's a purpose new technology. So we need to be fast and aggressive in this technology to capitalize on this momentum, which we see across the globe. So this is where compliance on a secured way and a regulated way will help companies and young entrepreneurs present in India, as we all know, the youngest ecosystem in the world, to jump on this and take momentum of this part. We have not still seen any blockchain-based companies coming up for an IPO in India, whereas we have seen so many companies in Western markets and developed markets. So this is something India has to look into the perspective of compliance. Remaining said, like all said, like blockchain is an infrastructure is here going to stay. Like sir said, 30% tax means that is not something illegal or something. It's legal, legit, and something we all needs to jump onto the fact that. And one more thing, I would like to remind the entire audience, like thinking backward, why was this so-called technology became this momentum at this point? Picked up momentum at this point of 2022, 2020 or something. So yeah. So on the perspective of blockchain, it was back on 1980s or something, even before I was born. So blockchain was brought into this world at that time itself. But the so-called crypto and the tokenizing and the financial e-money, virtual money, those kind of things only gained up momentum. So some kind of regulated way to launch tokens and make it available for retail or anybody to jump into this would make a big difference. And I hope every entrepreneurs in the entire ecosystem are ready to be on a regulated side. I mean, there are obviously crimes and scams happening around, not to bunch onto that. But still there are people, like major chunk of people are ready to work on a regulated way and would like to make a difference here, because this is a general purpose technology and an infrastructure for everybody to jump on and move forward with the decentralized and way of approach.
Yeah, Loretta, you were trying to say something.
Blockchain only did come into existence in 2008. Something called digital gold was talked about in 1972 by a computer scientist from MIT. But the technology itself is only 12 years old. Don't forget, the internet took 35 years to get 100,000 users. GB Chat, when it came out, got 7 million users in 2 days. These technologies are all starting to converge together. And I think you have to understand, you can't make laws around technology. Laws have to be technology agnostic. And I agree that blockchain is very good for infrastructure projects, and in the future, fractionalisation of real estate, the use cases are incredible. But the technology is not there yet. Ethereum, whatever you look at, Bitcoin does one thing, Bitcoin blockchain, it's Bitcoin. You have Ethereum, Solana, you have many other of these protocols that are trying to create these infrastructures, but there's a lot of problems. Their scalability, they're not interoperable with each other. The throughput, in the financial system, we put through millions of transactions a second. If you try and do that on the Ethereum blockchain, you get stuck at 2 million. It doesn't work in the real world. So there are lots of use cases coming out. I haven't actually seen one that actually has come out of pilot in the world yet. And I've been doing this for 12 years. But the internet took 30 years. So where we sit today and where we sit in 10 years is going to be very, very different. And blockchains are all not the same. What you're talking about here is when I talk about the Bitcoin blockchain, it's a public blockchain. Everybody can access it. Governments don't like that. Governments look at private blockchains. And I often say to people, you give away the security. The security of a public blockchain is so secure because it's so decentralised. If you only have a certain number of nodes in a blockchain, it becomes less secure. So your trade-off is security versus privacy. And that's a big thing. And those private blockchains are called DLTs, distributed ledger. I don't believe in distributed ledger technology at all. I only believe in public open infrastructure, but that's because I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, and the boys will probably argue with me about that. And the third thing is, so private versus public blockchains are very, very different things. And often you don't need a blockchain. People come to me all the time and said, we need to build this blockchain. I say, blockchains are very energy intensive. They take a lot of energy. You may just need a better encrypted database. Blockchains are not the answer to everything. They are the answer to some things, but in a lot of things, they're completely useless.
Well, to the lady and the gentleman, we are running short of time. Thanks to, I'll blame it on Narendra. So we need to jump into the closing statements here. I understand that, in fact, this topic for the panel could have well been a topic for a 2-day program, and it would be a lot more thing to do. But
yes,
that's what we have. So
I think that I just start with the adoption, right? Web3 we spoke, and we spoke about why these companies are going out, and my closing remarks is like ultimately blockchain is for what purpose, and blockchain is one of those tech along with, as a part of a Web3. When we say Web3, while we have done or we are part of a Web2, and we will be part of a Web2 which is backed by a mobile, cloud, web app and so on, but to enhance Web2 as an experience with a better security, we'll always slowly get into Web 3.0, which will be backed by blockchain, AI, IoTs, and 5G, and maybe next level of communication. It's all about business models. And if you see these business models, the companies who are going out of India is minuscule. It's very minuscule. If you look at the use cases of blockchain, if I divide into 4 areas, it's all about organization level use case, wherein I will track and trace what is really happening, how a particular identity in organization is really governing around that data, and better have a better data privacy and everything. Maybe a payments and banks will go for these kind of use cases. Another area is like consortium based use cases, where multiple banks come together and say, same KYC can I reuse, and so that I can avoid that 5,000, 10,000 rupees of KYC in every bank. Imagine I can build at least 300 plus use cases apart from KYC in one banking consortium. Then we talk about some of those national level use cases, wherein we spoke about Aadhaar coming on blockchain, or DigiLocker is coming on blockchain, or we spoke DPIs, which are going to touch every citizen in the. And then we finally talk about the global use cases, global passport, global like health records, right? How can we send a cross border, right? So these are 4 areas where most of these use cases are there. Now, when we talk about these founders, when you get out of which is that use case they are doing for all these 4 areas, minuscule. When you talk about tokenization, it's just a beginning. And the way we have seen web economy back in 94 and coming today, it's a normal now. And there are a lot of laws, DPDPs, many more things. And there are a lot of like IFSC is doing, and many more companies will come up with the, Telangana state was doing something tokenization framework. So these frameworks will keep coming. Now, it was very early for these crypto companies coming in there and starting, but what was the use case? There was no use case for a normal citizen like you and me, apart from only trading or apart from investing and coming out, we don't know that logic all about. So when we talk about actual use cases, there is a larger game, and today we talk about what is blockchain, what are these blockchain use cases, but our millennials will not talk about that. They will directly go and implement. They are already doing it. When you talk about multiple models like tokenization, CBDC, which is again a token, or when you talk about gaming, media entertainment, or many more models are already coming up. Millennials are very better way they are doing it. Only think as a regulatory bodies, governance, we need to bring right regulations. And what is regulation is all about taking care of a customer data, and it's a common sense. And it comes as a document, then we call it as a GDPR. We call it, it is all about the same thing what we used to do earlier. And never know, there will be 10 more regulations will keep coming on top of existing regulations. But how do we utilize the technology to safeguard, to really do our job better so that we move from one orbit to another orbit? We say today we are digital era, tomorrow it will be intelligent era, day after it will be autonomous era, right? You go and enter in the bank branch, he knows who has entered, for what he has entered, he has given a consent on blockchain. So when everything will go on the marketplaces, you want it or don't want it, every model which we use to as a client server, it will be on the marketplaces. Today we are Ola, Uber or some of them, and they are operating with the intermediaries, but tomorrow they will not operate with without intermediary. So there are at least 400 plus models World Economic Forum has identified. It will go slowly eventually. That's the birth of RegTechs, FinTechs, Health Tech, and a lot of startups will keep coming. And ultimately these technologies will keep coming. We'll keep talking about regulation, but whatever the innovations we are driving, it's really going well, and good that we are at least part of the blockchain era where we can go and create this framework, security framework, regulations, so on. We are not that internet era where we used to learn Java or many more other technologies. We adopted what others have done. But today we are in that era, we can create and we can make it more better rather than in 2030, rather we can say in 2029. We did this last 6-7 years, we did that. We don't talk about blockchain, we talk about something else. I think that's how we need to look at.
So, 1 minute if you can.
To conclude, I think we have to play the cards from the government, and government needs, in fact, our police department needs a lot of product. We are also building, and we want academia to come in front and help us out building a product which will help our police department. If there is a complaint coming, where should they go? Right now, they are relying on either a product subscription from an Israeli company or a US company. They do not know, once I got a complaint pertaining to a blockchain or a crypto, how to proceed further. And that's where we are building. We are building products which will trace the wallet and the ultimate destination. And if there is a KYC done, it will find out. It could be international. It could be done everywhere. But these kind of products are needed. It doesn't come with money. A lot of, it's not a glamorous product to build. However, the use cases are big. And as Prasanna was saying, we have to look out for real use cases which government needs, and then help government to build, and then I'm sure the government is here to support us. Thank you.
Pranav.
To conclude on the entire panel, I would talk about the emerging trend in this entire blockchain space. So for all these cybersecurity folks here, ZK technology, zero knowledge proofs, have been a major takeaway in the blockchain. In fact, our homegrown blockchain, we are so proud of what Polygon has done globally from India. So they have also emerged into a ZK player. So I wish everybody to look into the ZK as a matter of fact and jump onto this. And on the other perspective, to all those participants and all the people around who are not yet into the blockchain space, I wish everybody jumps onto this general purpose technology build. And according to me, sooner it'll be another thing of a cell phone. We use cell phone for multiple things. Likewise, we'll be using blockchain for multiple things. So I wish everybody jumps onto this part. And of course, life and evolution is a marathon, but you have to start running at some point of time, right? That's the scenario.
So I think blockchain has probably been one of the most revolutionary technologies we've seen in our lifetimes after the internet. I think what we're seeing at the moment, cryptocurrencies are gone. I regulated and worried about them in 2018. To be quite frank, that's done and dusted. What I worry about today is the new applications that are coming on top of blockchain, DeFi, the metaverse, stable coins, there's a sleuth, non-fungible tokens, decentralised automated organisations which are run by code. This is the next evolution of blockchain. But the most powerful thing that I see, and why Bitcoin became so powerful, was because we could move value to each other without an intermediary. I no longer need a bank to stand in me to move money from my wallet to somebody's wallet, and because intermediaries make money out of frictions in systems. You take out the intermediaries and they don't particularly like that. But I think what we're seeing now with Web3, Web3 is very, very different to Web3. Web2 was very static, and the only people that made money out of Web2 were like the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Facebooks, the Googles. We've moved into Web3, and as Web3 and AI and blockchain have converged in the last year, what we're seeing is the most powerful thing I've ever seen. We can move between each other value and information over open systems to any person on the planet without using a person in the middle. And that has revolutionised everything. So in the next 10 years, I think the applications are going to be phenomenal. The peer-to-peer transactions, to me, can change can change emerging markets. They can make economies much wealthier than they are. But I think the other thing is, when we look at regulation and policy, and that's what I do, you do need regulation and policy, but you can't regulate the technology. You can regulate the players that use the technology. And we must look at things when we're looking at these digital assets that have been created because of the blockchain, or virtual assets. We've got to look at money laundering, terrorism financing, protect consumers, investors, so they don't get ripped off, and make sure that there's financial stability. So that's what regulators worry about. It's taken them a long time to get their heads around it, but I think we're getting there. And as blockchain and the next iterations of the applications of blockchains come, I think by 2025, we're going to be sitting in a very, very different world.
Well, thank you so much. See, I think as a closure, sorry, we will not be able to take any questions, but Loretta is leaving at 4:30, so we will be stepping out after this. If any of you have questions, probably we can try to take the questions outside because we are out of time. Just to conclude, I think cybercrime is the world's perhaps second most in terms of its ability to impact the humanity. First, I think, is bio war. So we are going to see a bigger threat, and everybody, of course, I'm just adding that to the conclusion. But the conclusion from the panel is that blockchain is going to touch every aspect of our life. Particularly, personally, I believe tokenization is going to change the way we own things, the way we create wealth, the way we create value, the way we share value, the way we do business, the way we govern, the way we run things. So it's bound to impact whether any of us understand the technology or not. We will be part of it. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you once again.